and welcome to Psyched for Sanity. I am one of your hosts, Dr. Tara McKelvey Parker. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I specialize in assessing and treating complex trauma and attachment wounds from childhood.
And I am one of your other hosts, Dr. Brindle Doss. I specialize in forensic psychology, trauma treatment, geriatric psychology, and assessment, as well as being a licensed psychologist. And I have a question for you.
Okay. I don't know what this question is. I'm scared. Always.
I love surprising you on this podcast.
I know.
It's one of the joys I have in my life. What? Your face is so scared. I just said one word.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready now.
What's your favorite kind of tree?
Does.
Why is that? That's not a bad question. That's not a bad question.
It's not a bad question. It's just the
it's
most
not even scary.
random question
I said it was going to be a random question.
ever have received, and I don't.
You don't have a favorite tree?
Okay, hold on. Let me think about. I've never had to think about my favorite tree before.
Aren't you glad I'm your friend?
Yes. Yes, because now I get to think about what my favorite tree is. So It's toggling between.
Oh, I love the word toggle. I've been using it a lot recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in therapy. Yeah, I use it like all week.
Really?
Sorry.
That's so funny. We're like on the same wavelength
we
or
so
something.
are.
I
We
like
toggle.
never use toggle.
Really, I've recently really picked it up, toggling a lot.
You like are giving it to me. It's like
maybe.
Toggle.
Osmosis.
I'm toggling between like a weeping willow because I think it's kind of moody, and I remember
very moody.
It's very moody.
It's always by a body of water too.
Yes, and it has the word weeping in it, which feels like it really fits for me.
Why? Why does weeping feel like it fits for you?
Because I weep a lot.
Okay.
I'm a weeper. I weep.
You know, in certain countries, they have professional mourners.
I could do that.
Yeah,
I
you could
do
totally
that.
be a
Especially
professional mourner.
lately. The past couple of years, I've been weeping. I've been mourning. So the weeping willow, and
Always
then
good to
I
have a
also
backup
thought of a
plan.
money tree
Okay.
because I have one
Very
of them in
different
my
direction.
office, and it was a gift. And I think that the trunk is really cool looking.
Look how fun your answer was. And you were scared. You were upset with the question, but that was a great answer.
Thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Do you want to know my favorite tree?
I do.
Evergreen.
Okay, why?
I just love that they're always green, and I love the smell of most
smell,
evergreens.
okay.
And I love I like pine trees. I used to have a house with tons of pine trees, too many pine trees, like 30, 40-foot pine trees. I had like 10 of them. It's too many trees. But I just love everything about them. The smell, the
Okay.
vibe, the essence reminds me of childhood.
Okay.
When we'd go camping in different parts of Texas that were more remote, and there'd be these really tall, beautiful pine trees
Very
everywhere.
quaint. Well, sounds very quaint
I'm
and
very
lovely.
quaint.
Yeah, sounds great.
Thanks.
Aw, so you've thought about this.
Yes.
You've thought about the answer to this question before.
100%. This is one of my fun facts. This is literally something that was written down months ago.
Oh, really?
To let you know that my favorite tree is evergreen. And I just spun it around as a question because today we are answering questions from our audience.
Yeah, we're answering questions from our audience. So
Okay.
we're going to ask each other questions and
Questions that we've been posed that you guys want to know about, and we're going to try to answer them.
we're going to try to answer them.
We're going to try to answer
We're going to do our
them.
best.
Hopefully they'll be easier than the tree question for Dr. Parker. We'll see.
It was easier than I thought it would be. I was just like,
What do you think I was going to ask you?
I don't ever know. Honestly, my brain went to soap.
Why would I ask you about soap?
Because you ask random things. You think about random things. So, like, the most random thing I could think about was soap.
I have no questions for you about soap.
You will.
But
I'm going to have questions for you about soap.
oh God.
One day on the podcast, I'm just going to ask you random questions.
My God, now I feel so anxious right now.
That's
Man,
because
that was a
yeah,
wave.
I
Your
wanted to make
intensity
you
right now.
anxious
It's just
the
like a
way-
wave.
Make you anxious the way you made me anxious.
I don't think I did. I can't take responsibility for your feelings.
Dang
Question
it.
1.
You're right. Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Emotional boundaries.
Okay. Speaking of stress,
Oh.
what's the difference between? Hey.
Nice.
Hey.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
One of our human person listeners asked, "What's the difference between stress and anxiety?"
Okay, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Well, you didn't do it.
I know, I'm
Thank
just-
you to our listener for sending in that question.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, stress. I think they can often co-occur, but
Important.
yes, they can often co-occur. I often think about stress as being related to an external event,
Right.
right? So like something is happening or some things are happening to you that seem like they're going to be hard. So it's sort of, it
Overwhelming.
arises from external external stressors or events.
Literally,
So you've got a performance or a presentation you have to give at work, for instance. That's going to be stressful. So your brain's often like, oh, I have a lot to do. So that's stress.
Okay.
Anxiety to me arises based on the interpretation you make of the event.
Your cognitive beliefs.
Right. So if you have a presentation at work, it is stressful, but you may feel anxious when you start interpreting that event as threatening. Right? So I am going to do a terrible job. So-and-so, they're going to think I'm stupid. Maybe I'll lose my job. Right? Like you start catastrophizing, you start thinking in black and white terms, you start generalizing, and then it becomes anxiety. Yeah. Okay. So stress then should reduce once the external events are taken away.
Yeah.
Whereas anxiety will linger.
So
sticks
stress
around.
can turn to anxiety.
Exactly. That's how come they often co-occur. So, when you're stressed out, what you want to do is like take things off your plate.
If you can.
Get support if you can, right? That will generally help alleviate stress. Versus anxiety, you have to do a lot more work in reframing some of these cognitive distortions because your brain is automatically interpreting these stressful things as threatening. And so those of us with anxiety, typically that's what happens.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's what I think about.
Yeah, I think that anxiety also is, I think one thing that with stress is helpful to remember is that if you are knowing that you're going through a stressful period, reminding yourself that it will end is almost helpful to tolerate that stress.
Yeah, that's true, that there's going to be an end point because it's tied to this thing that's happening to you.
Oh, yeah. Even if it's prolonged.
Yeah. So I think in general, stress and anxiety are both pretty common, pretty normal. And we really get to, problematic anxiety when it becomes rigid and inflexible and pervasive and starts impacting functioning.
Impacting function always. Okay.
Always impacting functioning.
Okay. Well, you answered one of the questions from our listeners. Do you have any questions you want to ask me?
I don't, but our listeners do. So, yeah, right? Okay.
Good catch.
So, question for you.
Yes.
Do you think venting is helpful?
Ooh.
I know. This was an interesting one.
I like this one.
Yeah.
Such a good question and so important to understand. I think my answer is going to frustrate people.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
It can be. I think, so if you are venting to a friend about a romantic relationship and that friend is just listening and validating and supporting, and then once you're, I guess, done venting, you feel like a sense of peace or a calm or some type of emotional release, and you don't feel more agitated, more amped up, or more frustrated, then I would say, yes, it's very helpful in that process. However, if you're talking to someone that is seeming to add more fuel to your fire about the situation that you're frustrated with, normally we vent about things we're upset about on some level.
Yeah.
Then I think it can make it worse, because then you might find yourself, after talking to this friend, more angry, agitated, irritable.
Yeah.
Just more churned up emotionally. And so it can lead to more emotional distress and not a release. So it's not always dependent on the person that you're talking to. I think that's a factor. But it also really depends on if that person can be validating and just supportive of your experience, but also not just co-sign all the negative beliefs that you have.
Yeah, I think I do think the listener matters. Exactly what you're saying, because for me, venting. When I think about venting, I kind of think about this sort of just like verbal, just like ranting, kind of thing. And when I do that, usually I think it's beneficial when I am sitting across from a person that I know will be validating and understanding my experience. So in that way, I can process, what happened to me. I also think it's really helpful for organizing my thoughts, because sometimes I'm not like organizing a bunch of what I'm going to say before I talk. I just talk.
Right.
And then the organizing comes from the talking.
It can, sure.
For me, that's how my brain works. But yeah, I think if you're telling yourself the same story and you're stewing in the same emotions, and or you're sitting across from someone who's maybe not able to validate or help you think about something differently, or like make some movement maybe potentially, and I think a good listener not only validates but also helps like you build perspective, like gives you a different viewpoint or helps you
Hopefully, yeah,
think
that's the
about
goal.
things in
Yeah.
a different way. Which is why when people come into my office to vent and they're just sort of like, meh,
Yeah.
I often, I think it's fine because I find it to be a good opportunity to try to sort of challenge thinking, or of course provide validation and empathy and insight and all of that can, I think, arise from venting. But I probably wouldn't just sit there and let someone, talk the whole entire time.
Sure.
Because then there's no movement. I think venting with movement is
Yeah, and
nice.
I think that's where having a friend that can validate your experience, but not add on other negative thoughts or like, you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
There's a way to support someone, but not co-sign everything that they're
like
thinking or
agree.
feeling.
Well, yeah, and if it's like particularly if you're sitting there and yes, someone's like rigidly thinking about a situation in a very particular way, then
Right.
I always find it to be my job to validate and normalize and empathize and then try to shift them
Right.
into thinking about it in a different way. Not that the way they're thinking about it is wrong, but there may be like other components here or other things we need to consider. And so we want really with venting like an emotional catharsis is how, or some kind of like movement or insight.
Or release, yeah.
Release, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what about this? We got a question from one of our listeners. How do you tell if you are disassociating?
I feel like it is on a spectrum.
Yes, I would agree with that.
So dissociation really is a way that the brain disconnects from some kind of experience that is overwhelming, it's too overwhelming or painful or threatening to process in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, we can have a dissociation from our emotions. We can be dissociated from our environment, from our memories.
Yeah.
It's a big one for trauma survivors. Don't remember things from their past or childhood. And also, dissociate from their body. There's lots of different ways to disconnect. So mild forms are really common. We mentioned in the ordinary, problem episode that people are sort of not present to their environment, right? Distracted, like actually
Constantly.
50% of the time.
Yeah.
So these mild forms of dissociation or disconnection are really common. So when we, drive home on autopilot or we get really absorbed in a good book or podcast,
Yeah.
or we
That's
kind of
typical and not
zone out
problematic.
for a second and don't know what our friend just said to us.
Right.
Those are all dissociation or disconnection in like mild, more common ways. And then we get to more moderate where it becomes a bit more problematic. You're feeling foggy. You're staring off into space. You may sort of daydream for long periods of time. You may feel numb or disconnected from yourself or your environment.
Yeah.
These are more moderate forms. And then, of course, we have really severe forms of dissociation, where we may
lose periods of time.
Yeah. Or, stuff like that where it can like start really impacting memory, like your ability to encode memory, I think. So, and then I also tend to think about dissociation, I think about it in all of those ways, in terms of disconnecting, right, from in that way. And then there's another way that people tend to disconnect, and that's by overanalyzing. I think ruminating, overthinking. To me, that's a different form of dissociation.
Right.
That is actually pretty typical.
And I think there's a lot to explore with that topic, so that might be something we cover.
Yeah.
But I think it's not well understood. And I think it's so easy to misunderstand a concept when it's not well understood. To not understand how it applies to you, if you're experiencing that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those too. Dissociation is one. When I get folks who are coming in for like ADHD testing, for instance, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of, much of the time, like, oh, this sounds more dissociative potentially, right? And so then it's not really ADHD, even though you're having a lot of trouble focusing and attending, but it's really because of this dissociation potentially.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
Okay, well,
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this one's gonna be easy. Easy question.
Okay.
Maybe.
I don't know, guys.
Okay. All right. Next question is, do you think you can diagnose someone
Yes, I can.
Based,
No? Oh, wait.
I think you can with
Well-
your formal battery of instruments. But do you think you could based on a short video?
Oh, that's a trick question. So it's not a question of can.
Okay.
It's almost the wrong question.
Oh.
It's should a mental health professional diagnose a person from a short video?
Or should you diagnose yourself from a short video?
Yeah, no, definitely for the first one, for that question, I can say no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Seek a licensed mental health professional to aid you in understanding your symptoms and experience.
Yeah, even though I do think there's a place of importance for, those
psychoeducational videos.
Yes, because
Makes
then
sense.
absolutely. Let's take those symptoms, to a psychologist and figure out what's going on.
But the real question, can you diagnose a person? It's the reason I put the word should in there versus can is there's actually a rule in the world of mental health. It's technically an ethical rule by the American Psychiatric Association. It's called the Goldwater Rule.
Yeah, I had never heard of this before.
I knew this. I've known this for a while. I have.
How?
How did I know about this? I don't know. I know a lot of random.
Yeah, you do. This is why you ask random questions.
I guess.
Yeah.
But anyways, the rule states the ethical principle states that a psychiatrist or psychologist should not diagnose a person that they are not actively in treatment with. So even if you were to watch, let's say, a video of a public figure, a celebrity, a politician, you can actually run afoul of your licensing boards if you publicly state that this person, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, has a mental health diagnosis.
That's really interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of this?
What do you mean?
Have
I seen this?
Yeah.
I have been. I'll put it this way. I used to work for the federal government, and when you work for the federal government in the branch that I worked in, I was considered a law enforcement officer, and there are very specific things in that role that we were not allowed to do, even above and beyond becoming a private citizen. So I had a different level of ethical standards, not just as a psychologist, but as a law enforcement officer and a member of the federal government that I was not allowed to comment or say upon or do any kind of political activation.
I see. So this was just kind of in the background.
And this was
you
part of that.
At your job.
Maybe it was part of that training. I don't remember because I think over the past 8 to 12 years, the political rhetoric in the country has I would not say changed drastically, but it's escalated. And I think maybe I've learned about this because some mental health professionals were going on to social media platforms and different types of things, making declarations and statements about potential diagnosis related to public figures.
Okay, I see.
And then there was fallout.
I do remember this happening with one very big public figure.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was a noise.
That was something. That was surely something.
I didn't want to, yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Sometimes there are no
that.
words. They're just noises. What?
Well, okay. Yes. So, and I think when I heard that question, I thought since it was coming from a listener, they maybe meant can I diagnose? Is this information I see on social media relevant? Right. And I think it is. And also don't diagnose yourself based on it.
Right. And I think as a mental health professional, if I see a video of someone, technically, the Goldwater Rule applies whether you're a public servant or not. It's just for mental health professionals. Secondly, that video is only showing what the video shows. There's editing involved. There's so many things. Now with AI, there's so many things involved. So
that's true.
No, I don't think a mental health professional can really diagnose a person from a video.
Nor should
because you can't see the full picture of them in your office with them.
Right,
you cannot experience. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So from a short edited clip or reel. Now,
and
if you're doing video conferencing, that's called a telehealth session. That's different. That is mental health treatment.
Right. Got it. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Can people change?
That is a big question.
Do you want me to answer it, or is it too big?
No, No, no. It's
Okay.
not too big. Of course, I think people can change because I would not be in this field as a psychologist if I didn't think people could change.
Right.
But I do think change is pretty subjective.
Oh my gosh.
So when we say change, right? Like, I think that therapy can absolutely help people develop healthier coping skills and healthier relationships and, a more balanced view of yourself and others and relationships. And so I think there's a ton of change that can occur, with just in life. I think people can change on their own, but I also think, sometimes they need more help by coming to therapy. But there are some things that don't change, like, neurodevelopmental disorders like ADHD. You're born with ADHD. This does not change. You cannot not have ADHD, but you can certainly lessen the, sort of negative consequences of ADHD, right? We can learn emotion regulation. We can learn planning and organizational skills, impulse control. We can build skills around it. So symptoms are less impairing, but we always have ADHD, just like autism is another example of that. So those things don't change, but we can make progress on symptoms and really alleviate or kind of like improve functioning.
Absolutely.
The same with like personality. I think, personality disorders or sort of really rigid personality patterns. I think all of this can change. And what I mean is sort of grow and progress, and we can get better at, a sort of less rigid, unhelpful personality traits. But we always have a personality, and it's not about erasing personality or like changing personality so much as like, I think about it as letting people be freer to be themselves, and like removing unhelpful obstacles or patterns or. So yeah, I mean, yes, I think that not everyone can change or progress or is willing to or able to. Willing or able. Like, I'm thinking about people who are like really severely mentally ill or underfunded or homeless. Like,
I see. So there's other like barriers that are not just the change element themselves.
Correct. Like sometimes they cannot change. There are severe limitations external to progress and change. Sometimes there's a lack of motivation or an unwillingness. So there are always obstacles, I think that can get in the way, but at the core. I think people can change, meaning they can grow. It does not mean to me, even with anxiety or trauma triggers, all of that stuff, may be present, I think, for a person for a long time, but you can just get better at managing all of it.
Yeah, and I think I've had a lot of really, it's funny we got asked this question because there's a lot of really interesting dialogue I've had in sessions and out of sessions over the past, month or so with different folks from different backgrounds about this perception of change. I've had folks say, well, so-and-so, my uncle or my sister or so-and-so has been going to therapy for years and she's still a XYZ, so therapy doesn't work. And it's so interesting to hear that, and that I'm not going to argue with someone's perspective on that, but I think it's funny and I think it's important to say in this, your mental health professional, your therapist, will only ever have your view. Like, we only ever have the view of the person, of the patient we're treating. So, and
unless you're getting collateral information for some reason, but
and that's not like we get collateral information for different types of assessments.
Sometimes I do for therapy, depending. I mean, with kiddos, I suppose you're getting collateral more often, but
I think also, I think that your the therapist working with someone is always going to get that person's viewpoint, and maybe the therapist sees change in the time they spend with the person when the person experienced change, but does that change always translate to the person's day-to-day experience with other people? I have no idea.
And also, that person who says, so-and-so didn't change may have different goals for that person than so-and-so had for themselves. So, it's
interesting.
Right? It's super interesting and,
I think it's fascinating.
And nuanced, and I think people can change.
I think people can change, and change is so subjective.
Super subjective. I think that's,
Right?
Totally.
Yeah, I agree. Well, this was a fun one. Yeah, I really like getting questions from our listeners. So you can keep sending them in. We can keep doing these please
episodes.
Leave a comment. Please send an email. We have a website. We have one.
We do, indeed. You want to tell them
psychedforsanity.com.
Psychedforsanity.com.
Yeah, check us out.
Mm-hmm.
Ask us more questions because we like to talk to each other about questions in psychology. It's kind of what we do, just on our own. So we can have an excuse to do it on the podcast instead, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed. All right. Cool.
Well, what are you taking away from our fun listener Q&A today?
That we have listeners. To be honest, that's the first thing that popped into my brain, and that's how I like to roll.
Well, I was really happy, and now I'm depressed. Of course we have listeners. On behalf of the listeners, how dare you?
No, that wasn't a negative thing. It was like a yay.
But did you not think that we had them before?
Well, kind of, but this is more concrete, so it's cool, that they like sending in questions.
Dude. Yeah, but I mean, of course we have listeners. We're fun, exciting, interesting psychologists most of the time.
All the time.
On that note, we will see you next time. This podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or any kind of professional mental health treatment. We hope that we can share with you our experience authentically and genuinely, and we hope that occasionally we'll make you laugh. Maybe you can relate to our quest and how we're psyched for sanity. The content we share is our personal opinions and insights. They are not clinical insights to anyone, and they don't represent or reflect any entity that we work and or have worked for in the past. But if listening to this podcast has made you think, we really encourage you to seek out a mental health professional in your area.